Being a Longhorn is opportunity, pride, achievement, community, safety. Being a Longhorn is a choice to become a hero, to lead, to thrive in any setting. Being a Longhorn means immersing yourself in fine arts, learning at your own pace in Montessori, starting your path to college in elementary, earning a college degree in high school. The pride of being a Longhorn lives on long after graduation. Educate, empower, inspire.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our virtual Bond Invader community meeting. My name is Alicia Davis. I am the Director of Family and Community Engagement for Cedar Hill ISD. And who do we have tonight on the panel? We have our fearless leader, Dr. Gerald Hudson. He is our superintendent. We also have our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Carla Settle. We have our Chief of Police, Mr. James Hawthorne. We have our Assistant Superintendent of Student Services and Administration, Mr. Tellance Graham. We also have our Executive Director of Maintenance and Operations. This is Mr. Josh Skanes. We have Mr. Neil Bolton, who is our Executive Director of Technology. And actually, they will be here to answer some of the questions that you might have. But who is going to really lead this presentation is both our superintendent and our CFO. All right, so now I will allow Dr. Hudson to take it away.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. So one of the things I do want to say is it's always a pleasure to talk about really what is the vision for the students here in Cedar Hill ISD. One of the things I'm always first and foremost will tell people, we're a community-based school district. We represent Cedar Hill community, and we want to make sure our students, as you can see in our picture, you see kids going to multiple places and multiple opportunities, and it just really comes from the foundation they learn in school in order to compete not only on a local level but on a national and global level. So again, we want to make sure our kids are prepared from the time they start to the time they finish to do whatever they choose to do. It's all about choices and the options, giving our kids everything they need so they can move forward. So if we're talking about academic choices, we try to make sure that we align some of our elementary choice programs with the middle school to high school so there is true pathways. We always say that we want our kids to find their passions while they're in school, because if you find your passion while you're in high school, elementary, middle school, high school, the world is yours. The possibilities are endless. The problem is a lot of our kids waiting until they get to college and trying to figure out their passion. Unfortunately, every time you change your mind, you pay more money. So again, giving kids multiple opportunities to see what they want to do for the rest of their life, because again, we want to make it about fun. So you can see from the fine arts alignment to STEM alignment, leadership, Montessori, medical STEM with the new hospital coming in place. The only thing that's not listed is Highlands and the dual language and moving it from just one way to two way, so kids have multiple opportunities to learn languages. And so again, how do we align these things throughout? Because we want our kids, when they go to their schools, to have that point of pride. We talk about like Friday Night Lights, when kids run through a wall. Why do they do that? For a sticker on their helmets. We want to create those point of pride for every one of our campuses. So when kids are going there, they're excited about being in these programs and ultimately where that's going to take them in their life career. So we're going to talk about 4 different areas. The first thing is about diploma and we talk about diploma and it's like more than the diploma. Going through high school, there's opportunity to do so much, and we just have to take advantage of it. We want our kids to graduate with everything they need: a high school diploma and hours towards an associate degree or an associate degree, and the possibility of a STEM-based, industry-based certification. Why? Because when we talk about post-high school readiness, there's 3 phases. There's college, workforce, and military. Unfortunately, we talk about the skills that you need in one is the same skills you need in all. And our job is to prepare our kids for that so that when they get done with high school, they can make the best choice for them. Now, I will say I know plenty of kids who have used their industry-based certification to get jobs to help pay for the college. So again, the more options and flexibility you have, the better marketing it is for you. In addition to the diploma, and we also talk about high qualified staff. That's having great people in front of your students. I am very blessed to have people dedicated to work in our school district, to want to educate our kids, because education is not an easy job anymore. We're looking now, it is a national issue that people are not going into the field of education, but we are thankful for the people that we do have, from our bus drivers, custodial staff, auxiliary workers, our teachers, our administrators. Have to have highly qualified people, because what's the greatest impact on student achievement? It's the teachers. Next to the teachers, campus administrators. So again, having great people in the right positions is only going to make it better for our students. We always say that 3 years of a great teacher propel your student beyond any belief. But all it takes is 1 year of a bad teacher to derail that. So again, we want to make sure we have highly qualified staff. Now, of course, the next piece is dealing with safe schools and prepared staff. Now, unfortunately, with the Uvalde situation, safety and security has been moved to a new height. We have great security guards, we get great police department. And again, we want to make sure there's two things I always say. Our kids have to understand that they are physically safe and they're emotionally safe. If our kids do not feel like they're physically safe or emotionally safe, then they can't learn. And the only way they can learn, they have to have those basic needs met. So we got to make sure our schools are safe, not only the exterior, the interior, but also when you talk about the social media, the internet, all these different facets, how to deal with these things. So that's phase 3. And then the last phase, of course, is dealing with facilities that enhance learning. We have to have facilities that enhance the learning that we expect from our kids. We're not talking about the old traditional roles that we may have dealt with as a student. Sometimes I tell people we're trying to give people, our grandparents, education. It's all about the new flexible and new learning environments, because ultimately most of the jobs now are more flexible, more learning opportunities. So the more we compare them now with these enhanced learning opportunities, hands-on training, the better off it will be when they get into what we consider the real world.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. It's great to be with all of you tonight. I'm Carla Settle, the Chief Financial Officer of CHISD, and I wanted to talk a little bit and brag a little bit about how Cedar Hill ISD has been fiscally responsible, and the reports of our efficiency audit highlight a couple of them, and one of them being our average revenue from all of our funding sources is $9,476 per student. But when you look at what our peer districts and our state is average generates, it's over $10,000 per student. And, we've been responsible and strategic with what we have been generating as far as having one of the lowest tax rates in Dallas County. But, we still spend a larger portion of our budget on instruction than our peers, where we're spending 56.7% of our budget on instructional expenditures, whereas our peers are averaging about 54%. The other thing I wanted to talk about was as we're looking at our neighbors, did you know that our first year teachers in Cedar Hill ISD are paid less than any of our immediate surrounding districts? And if it's not just our first year, our veteran teachers, those with 10 years of experience, they could look around and, earn a few more dollars from our neighbors. So it's important to look at how we can reward and continue to prioritize instructional expenses. And I just like to share a couple of things that we've done in the last couple of years. And the most strategic of them all, and it's a credit to our Board of Trustees that have prioritized paying down debt. We've paid down $18.5 million in debt early. We have also found some other ways on the general fund side of things to cut costs and continue to keep instruction a priority, like reorganizing our bus routes and changing our bell schedule. We saved $200,000 there. We have decreased our central office positions and streamlined our operations. And then, our main focus is to reduce our third-party vendors and redundant programs. And as we look to other ways that we can generate more revenue for the students of Cedar Hill ISD, I will pass it on back to Dr. Hudson to talk about our upcoming plans for November.
You're muted, Dr. Hudson.
I try really hard not to do that today. There are two ways to increase funding in the school district. One is by increasing student enrollment, and the second is through a voter approval tax rate election. Now, in a voter approval tax rate election, it is about increasing funds on the M&O side. There are two parts to our tax rate. There's the M&O, which is maintenance operations, which we use to run our school district. And then there's the INS, which is the interest and shrinking, which represent the money, raise money to pay off our debt that we have. Now, the VATRE is for people, programs, and payroll. That is the first proposition, Proposition A. The school district is slated to, on the M&O side, increase by 12 pennies. That voter approval tax rate election is expected to generate an additional $6 million annually for, again, people, programs, and payroll. One of the things I do like to make sure people understand, people say, well, my property tax keep going up. Yes, but I do want to help you understand that when there's more money, you feel like more local dollars should be going to the school district. The state says, although we're generating more local dollars, they start decreasing state dollars. So again, it is a great equalizer. So even though values are going up, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll increase in values for the school district. So the bond, that is about, when we talk about VATRE, it's about people, programs, and payroll. The bond is about buildings and capital improvements. So just kind of give you some facts. You look at it overall, about $3.9 million on building maintenance for 21-22. As you can see, most of our buildings look very good from the outside. I brag about our maintenance department. They're doing an exceptional job in making sure the buildings look good. But unfortunately, sometimes that is the exterior that you see and not necessarily the interior. These are some of the pictures from some of the storms we've had, even when Bray up in the corner where we had to move kids in from the other buildings because of rain. So they had to come all into the larger building portion to keep them dry. And again, also, when you look at the average age of our district HVACs and roofs, you're talking about 20 plus years. Now, where did all this information come from? A lot of this information just from our audit and the information, but we also had Building Solution, who was a third party, to go through and look at all our buildings and give us an idea about the conditions. And this information was shared with our Long-Term Futures Committee. So you can see campuses are rated mostly poor. We have a couple that's fair. We only have one that's in good condition, which that would be considered the Jolene Maddox Teaching and Learning Center, where currently the only students we have there are students who are in our Hilltop program or DAEP. Unfortunately, this is the current state of our buildings because, again, if the roof is leaking, you don't get to see the outside, but then the inside of it, you see the effects of it. So what's in the bond? The bond proposal is about addressing safety and security, facility needs, and also dealing with that Longhorn Stadium track and turf. Now, of course, due to state law, certain projects have to be split up. So that's why you will see on the ballot 3 different propositions when it comes to the bond. So what's in Prop B? Prop B is the largest piece. That is about safety and school renovation. That is about the safety and security upgrades. We have secure vestibules at our campuses. This is taken to the next level with the bullet resistant film, additional surveillance cameras, upgrades. We also talk about capital improvements. Our HVAC, I brag about our maintenance department, but I would say if you ever had your AC go out during the summer, then you don't understand what it means when you have the AC goes out and there are students in the building. So again, the HVACs, the plumbing, all those different things that we know that is necessary, roofs, technology. This is the technology that we don't see. This is your networking. This is your switches. These are things that make it possible for us to have one-to-one. The ADA compliance. Also in the projects, new Fine Arts Academy, Middle School Fine Arts Academy, STEM labs at High Point Plummer, Waterford Oaks, track replacement at Pimento Coleman and Collegiate Academy High School. Of course, that's important because Collegiate Academy, Pimento, and Coleman track are considered like classroom because they don't have stands. So that's why it's under the big proposition versus you are hereby in Prop D. The track in Prop D for Longhorn Stadium is separated because there are stands with more than 1,000 seats. New bus facility with also new buses. When we actually took over from our third-party vendor, one of the things that we did run into was that there was not a replacement cycle for our buses. So the age of our buses are older, we need to start replacing them. And then also renovations to our cafeteria and several other things, our theater arts department, storefront for our graphics design, and culinary arts. So there's a lot of things that in Prop B, and you can definitely find all this information on our website. In Prop C, these are the technology things that you do see: the desktops, the one-to-one devices, the backup batteries and phones, interactive panels and projection. One of the things I want to make sure is clear, like a building, you have a bond or it's 25 to 30 years on paying it back. These are short-term things, just like, as soon as you buy a cell phone, as soon as you leave, within 2 minutes, in my opinion, you get the ad for the new cell phone coming out. So these are short-term. So again, these are about 5 years to pay those off, including the buses. But again, these are the technology things that you do see. And then Prop D, this is about Longhorn Stadium. I call it the Katie, Allen, and McKinney rule. So they have to be separated out. So this is about the turf as well as the track. Now the turf is about 8 years old and out of a 10-year life expectancy. So again, it becomes a safety issue and it has to be replaced. So what will be on the ballot? So on November 8th, 2022, you will see 4 City Hill ISD proposition. Prop A, the VATRE, which is about people, programs, and payroll. Prop B, C, and D are about the school bond. Prop B is about safety, schools, and safety renovation. Prop C is about technology that you do see. And Prop D is about upgrades and upkeep for our Longhorn Stadium.
All right. Now it is time for us to take some questions. If our virtual audience, our viewers who are watching right now, would like to pose any questions to our panel, this is the time to do so. I am so shocked that there were no questions. There hasn't been any questions asked so far. Maybe everyone knows all about this already and they don't have any questions because they've been very well informed and educated on what's to come on the November 8th ballot. But I still want to make sure we give some time for some questions. I know someone's going to ask some questions, but while we wait to get some questions, let me do a couple of reminders. Now, the deadline to register to vote is Tuesday, October 11th, and early voting will take place October 24th through November 4th, and you can do that at the Allen Sims Recreational Center. Of course, again, Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th, and you can see all of the locations that you will be able to vote at on those dates. Also on October the 20th and October the 24th, we will have in-person community meetings regarding the bond invader. We encourage you. Of course, this is online. You'll be able to see it whenever you want to. But if you want to ask some questions to people in person, or you want to spread the word about the meetings that we have coming up in the community, please do so. October 20th is at Plummer at 6 o'clock. October 24th is at Lake Ridge, also at 6 o'clock. If you actually have questions that, even if you're watching this after the fact, and if you have some questions that you want to pose about the bond innovator, please feel free to email election2022@chisd.net. And you can also get all kinds of information if you visit chisd.net/election 2022. I will put that in the chat as well. Now, let's see. I do see some questions. So, all right. This one states, I did not see Academy High on the building condition list. Oh, that is the STEM Center. On Prop B includes track renovations at Academy High School. Are there plans to start utilizing the track? That is a good question.
Yeah, so we actually do utilize the track for multiple reasons, but a lot of times it is used for the PE classes that are at Collegiate Academy High School. So there's not I hope it's not talking about plans to start a track team, because we're all the Longhorns. And so the students who want to compete in a UIL activity will compete with the Cedar Hill High School. So yes, and can we go back to the condition of the building, just so we can show
the flag? Okay.
Yes, that slide. So it would be considered underneath the STEM Center. So if you look at number 10, they just put it all together. So that's Collegiate Academy High School / the Dr. Peggy M. Wilson STEM Center, which they have it rated as fair.
Okay. All right. How can CHISD expect good teachers without meeting other districts' pay?
That's a very good question. Unfortunately, one of the things that we can do is make sure how you get them and then what you do with them. So it's one thing to recruit teachers. It's another thing is to retain them. And then also another thing is to train them. So I always tell people, I can teach you how to teach, but I can't teach you how to love kids. So we want somebody who want to love kids. And then we have a great professional development department and our curriculum department. And part of that is teaching them how to teach and what they need to teach so kids can get what they need. So there's two parts to having a great teacher. One is having a person who's willing and dedicated to the students. The other thing is giving them the tools they need so they can be great. We always say we're not waiting on Superman when we got Batman. We want to make sure all our teachers have their utility belt with all the tools they need to help their students become successful.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. This question states, are the conditions of the restrooms going to be repaired or updated in the high school?
Josh, you want to take that? But I don't want to take all the fun away from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Hudson. I want to join in the fun a little bit. Yes, the answer to that question for restroom repaired and updated at the high school is absolutely. That does include restrooms, partition walls, ceilings, across the entire district, because they are, if you've seen those, they're in a little need. They're in some need for some love themselves.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things we don't necessarily go when you talk about buildings. Like if you look at the QR code, it'll say renovation, some other thing. It doesn't go into specific details about what it is but when you talk about classrooms, you talk about the aesthetics and paint. So some of those things that you're referring to are also included in the bond to take care of those needed issues that we need to take care of.
Thank you. I heard a tax increase estimate based on a home of $300,000 Can that be repeated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't in this presentation, but you're correct. We have been, putting that estimate out there on a $300,000 home. It would be, if both the bond and the VATRE passed, it would an estimated annual increase in that tax bill of about $15.
There's also a tax calculator, tax impact calculator on our website that you can actually utilize. So again, that's annually I think it was $14.96.
Yes, sir.
Roughly, $1.25 if you want to look at it per month. So yes, that's the correct information that we have. And again, there are 5 taxing entities. There's the school district, there's the city, there's the county, there's the hospital, and then there's higher education. So again, we want to make sure everyone understands that's our piece.
And I did put the website chisd.net/election 2022 in the chat. So if you go to that site and if you select the tax calculator, you can put the value of your home, and you can see if the district were to pass the bond only, you can see how that will impact you. If it passed the VATRE only, you can see how that will impact you. And if it passed both the bond and VATRE, you can see how that impacts you. So you can just put in your home value and it'll tell you right there on that site. Let's see. What is the projected time frame that we'll be able to see the fruit of the bonds once voted on and approved?
So progress is slow. We just had a meeting, Mr. Skanes and I, to kind of talk about what is the prioritization of the programs and things we have to do. So there are certain things we consider low-hanging fruit that we can take care of fast, but a lot of things when you talk about buildings and renovation, there's really the first year is about planning, because then once it's approved, you have to decide what does that building look like, what's going to be inside of it, and all this. Then it's about getting the information and then moving forward. So really, from start to finish, you may be talking about a year before you even start breaking ground, because the year of planning then is securing the funds as well as securing the resources necessary to get that moving forward. So, but one of the things I'm planning on doing is to have a website that have all the projects so people can see, because not everything is going to happen immediately, but you will know what's going to happen. You can see the progress on those particular projects.
Thank you. Explain again how increased property values and higher tax bills don't necessarily equate to more revenue for the district. Is that a Carla question?
It can be. Right. So property value increases are no joke in this climate that we are experiencing. And so property tax values are something that is not set by the district. That is set by the Dallas County appraiser and assessor collector office. So, and then we set the tax rate. And so oftentimes that tax compression, the state mandates what rate that we're allowed, the maximum allowable tax rate. And then they calculate their share, the state does. And so oftentimes when property values go up and generate local revenue, it's like a teeter-totter, then the state will lower theirs if the local share goes up. And so it is an ever interesting calculation to monitor. But there, like Dr. Hudson said before, there's only a very limited way that districts can generate additional revenue for students. And that is one by enrollment, and the other one is increasing the tax rate by the golden and copper pennies that we're proposing for November. I hope that helps. I'm always available for a nice long school finance conversation. It's difficult in this short time frame.
And believe me that the school finance is a whole nother beast, because again, you would think that increasing local dollars, that means going back into the schools. It does not. That means the state says, hey, you raising enough money, we don't have to give you any. Now, that's when we talk about talking to our legislators, because the school districts does not control that. It's our legislators who control that. We talk about the rainy day fund. There's a lot of things they're going to have to give in the next legislative session. But again, that's us having those conversations with the people in those key leadership positions, because I would think that you increase your property values around here, those dollars would go back to the local school district, and it does not.
Thank you both. How do those that rent and don't own a home contribute to these efforts other than voting? Is that perhaps the only way, or even getting out there? It depends on how you want to contribute, but either way, I would say, yes, you can vote, and you can also encourage other people to become more informed about the election, about the bond and the VATRE, and the differences between the two. And then just, again, get the word out however you see fit in your decision to support or not. Get the word out. And I think that that is an excellent way to contribute. And of course, voting definitely would assist in that as well.
And we also just don't want you to think that, there are property taxes that are being paid on that house. Fortunately for you, sometimes that is included in the rent. So sometimes you are actually paying that property tax, in a deferred kind of way. So you are still contributing. But again, like I said, the property taxes don't necessarily help the school district, because it is still a great equalizer between the local funds generated and the state funds that are given to us by the formula. But again, the only way to help improve that is through the voting. And again, we can't tell you how to vote, but we just ask that you vote. Because the kids are in the rental situation, that's funding per those kids. So the more kids we have in school, whether they're renting or owning, they're involved in our ADA, they're involved in our calculation, they're involved in the funding we receive for the school district.
Thank you. This states the middle schools are overcrowded. Are there any plans for a third middle school? Maybe not in this bond.
Well, I wouldn't say our middle schools are crowded. It says better utilization, also spreading things out. We also talked about the possibility of increasing enrollment at Collegiate Academy. So there are things we can do. Josh, if you want to talk about numbers, I don't know if you have those numbers in front of you on capacity.
Yeah, I do not have those in front of me. I was scrambling there for a second trying to find those, but there is, like you said, some opportunity for moving things around. So I don't have those. If I need to get them, please let me know.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say the overcrowded, but it's how do we utilize the space? How do we, we still have at some of our middle school campuses computer labs, and since we've gone to 1-to-1, we have computer labs at the elementary campuses, and most of them are not using it because they have the Chromebooks to be able to do that. So do we need to reallocate that for more space, or do we want to continue to have a permanent lab? And so these are things we have to have going into that. But again, it hasn't been an issue of crowdedness. Now, I will say, most people say the hallways are crowded, but when you ring the bell and 600, 700 students all go into a hallway, then it looks overcrowded. But there's capacity based on the space and availability at the campus, and none of our, maybe the high school is closest one to 90-something%. Other than that, most of them are very manageable.
Thank you. And Renita, I am the person, and I have gotten a communication from Courtney Atkins, so I will be in contact with you all. So just know I will be in contact with you, okay? Are there any other questions? Because that was the last one that I see.
I feel like Chief Hawthorne and Mr. Graham and Bolton just need to say hi because they haven't said anything the whole time. Make sure people don't understand they're not just fixtures and they're actually there.
Oh, you're muted, Chief Hawthorne.
Yes, I'm real. I'm actually here. Enjoyed the presentation, and we enjoy working with the kids each and every day, and doing what we do to help make the schools safer. So I'm appreciative of being able to have the opportunity to be here to field questions if some were to come in.
I'm just sparing you from the background noise, but I appreciate the presentation and being here, and thank you for joining us today.
And same here. Enjoyed the presentation. Looking forward to doing the best thing that we can for our district and our students. And one of the questions that was last asked about the middle schools, middle schools are not overcrowded as far as the numbers. Neither one of them are over 650 students. I think Bessie Coleman has 630 and Permenter has 650 students. And I think they can hold close to 800 students in those particular buildings. But again, managing those buildings and doing what the principals need to do in order to make sure those students are getting what they need is what they're doing there. So again, I appreciate this time and looking forward to doing some great things for Cedar Hill and our students.
Thank you. I got another question here. Dr. Hudson, you mentioned the possibility of increasing attendance at Collegiate Academy and high school. Would that be a gradual increase at the lower grades or across the board?
Well, we one of the things we want to make sure when we talk about expanding the choice program, how do you get in? Is that a 50%, 50%? So there will be a plan on how that will be rolled out, but there will be a lot of communication with that because you're talking about increasing STEM possibility at the elementary school. You talk about expanding the dual language program, so going to the middle school. So we need to have a comprehensive plan. So when we say choice programs in Cedar Hill ISD, whether you choose to be a part of the Fine Arts Academy or in the medical STEM, the process is the same. And so we're working through that right now. And so, yes, it will be a gradual process. But again, we want to make sure we have the parameters in place so that it's consistent across the board from here to we add on additional programs. And most those choice programs were based upon surveys we sent out asking the parents what they want to see. Because again, we want to try to prepare our kids. There's a lot of jobs that we're going to start talking about that it's not even formed yet that our kids are going to have opportunity for. And the more exposure they get at the earlier the age, the better off they are to compete for those same jobs.
I think there was a follow-up to the question about overcrowding in the middle schools. This person is asking pretty much, is there a teacher shortage? Because there's a lot of kids in the classroom, but there is a teacher shortage. And
that's a national.
Right. It's across
it's
everywhere.
If you look, we've had several articles about our Grow Your Own program. We moved, I want to say 7 to 9 paraprofessionals into the classroom to teach in a very robust system. We're constantly recruiting, not only just through the normal cycle, but LinkedIn, what are the other ones? I can't remember all. Indeed.com. So our HR team is doing a really great job of trying to find quality people to be in front of our kids. So we constantly keep doing that. But we also, it's not just by recruiting them, it's also by retaining them, because what benefits us to recruit some people, train them up, and then allow them to leave or be frustrated by the process. So we're working on to make sure we can keep them in, and we try to monitor that as well.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. All right. Any other questions? What's BOC? What is this?
What?
When will responses be sent for the BOC applications? What's that?
That's the Bond Oversight Committee.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
I think we're still going through the process. I don't think is the window closed yet.
I'm not aware of when the window closes, but I know we had plans to solidify it before Election Day.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure people knew exactly who was on that oversight committee. You know, people say that's a bold thing, but this is how transparent we want to be in this process. We're not trying to, you know, people say, um, you say one thing and do something totally different. We want to make sure people understand from the very beginning. And the oversight committee is really about just holding us accountable for what we say we're going to do. The worst thing to say is like, we're going to build a brand new middle school. And then there's sometimes you have projections where you don't need it. And then what are you supposed to do with that money? So again, it's about having those citizens, because again, we're a community-based school district, and people tell you all the time that school districts are telling you fibs and this and that. We're not about that. We're telling them the facts that we have, and so we want to make sure the oversight committee is in place to make sure we say exactly, because this won't be the last bond that Cedar Hill would have to pass, because you're talking 10 to 15 years, there may be another one. So we want to make sure we put parameters in place so people understand exactly what we do, so that when it comes up again, the trust is there to understand when we say this is what we need, this is what we need, and here's how we show how we handled the last bond. And when it's time to pay off, how much money we still have left of this, this, and this. So again, the more information, more factual information we have, then the ease it will to let people know that Cedar Hills is good about bonds and managing the money and the facilities.
All right, thank you. And again, just as a couple of reminders, the deadline to register to vote is October 11th. Early voting is October 24th through November 4th. You can do that at the Allen Sims Recreation Center on Election Day, which is Tuesday, November 8th. These are the locations you can vote at. And we have, again, those two upcoming in-person community meetings that we will discuss the bond invader as well. October 20th at Plummer at 6, and October the 24th at Lake Ridge, also at 6. Any additional questions you might have, please feel free to email election2022@chisd.net, and we will make sure your questions are answered. Thank you very, very much for your time and attention this evening, and we hope to see you on October the 20th or October the 24th, or someone you invite. We hope to see them at those meetings. Yes. Okay. Anyone have anything else to say? All right. Again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. Yes, it's a great day or an evening to be a Longhorn.